History of hamburgers. 22 facts that will completely change how you see this everyday food. You eat them at cookouts, at drive-thrus, maybe even at fancy restaurants. But here is the thing most people don't realize. The hamburger has one of the most complicated origin stories in all of food history, and nobody can actually agree on who invented it. 1. The hamburger is named after the city of Hamburg, Germany. In the 1800s, Hamburg was a major port city. Sailors would eat minced beef mixed with onions and garlic. It was called Hamburg steak. When German immigrants came to America, they brought the recipe with them. The name stuck, even though the sandwich part came later. 2. Hamburg was the second largest port in Europe during the 1800s. Millions of immigrants passed through it on their way to America. The Hamburg steak was the food of the working class, cheap filling and easy to make. It traveled across the Atlantic on ships and arrived in American port cities like New York and Baltimore. By the 1870s, Hamburg steak was appearing on menus across America. Restaurants in New York advertised it as a delicacy. It was still just a patty of ground beef. No bun, no toppings, no lettuce. The hamburger, as we know, it didn't exist yet. It was basically a fancy meatball without the ball shape. 4. Here is where it gets messy. At least 5 different people claim to have invented the hamburger sandwich. Charlie Nagreen from Wisconsin said he flattened a meatball and put it between bread at a fair in 1885. Frank and Charles Menches from Ohio said they did it at a county fair the same year. Lewis Wisson claimed he served it in 1891 in Milwaukee. The truth is nobody really knows. Most historians think the hamburger sandwich was invented at a county fair or outdoor event. The logic makes sense. A patty between 2 pieces of bread was easy to eat while walking around. No plate, no fork, no table. It was the original portable meal. Street food before street food was cool. 6. The hamburger became a real industry in 1921 when White Castle opened in Wichita, Kansas. Billy Ingram and Walter Anderson built a tiny restaurant that sold hamburgers for 5 cents each. But here's the genius move. They made everything white. White uniforms, white tiles. It was designed to make people trust the food, because at the time, many Americans thought ground beef was unsafe. Fact number 7. Before White Castle, ground beef had a bad reputation. In 1906, Upton Sinclair wrote The Jungle about the meatpacking industry. It was not horrifying. People were terrified of what was in their burgers. White Castle proved that ground beef could be clean and safe. They even published a book called The Great American Mystery to convince people. Marketing in the 1920s was wild. The 1930s and 40s brought drive in restaurants. Car hops on roller skates brought hamburgers right to your car window. It was the beginning of fast food culture. You didn't even have to get out of your vehicle. Americans loved the convenience so much that by 1950 there were thousands of drive-ins across the country. Number 9. In 1948, Maurice McDonald redesigned their small restaurant in San Bernardino, California. They stripped the menu down to burgers, fries, and shakes. They created an assembly line kitchen. A burger went from order to counter in 30 seconds. It was revolutionary. Kroc saw it in 1954, and the rest is history. He franchised it and turned it into the biggest restaurant chain on earth. The Big Mac was invented in 1968 by a franchise owner named Jim Delegati in Pennsylvania. He wanted a bigger burger for hungry customers. 2 patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. It became so popular that McDonald's made it the centerpiece of their menu. And the jingle that goes to all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun is permanently stuck in your head. Now, you are welcome. Number 11. Burger King was founded in 1954 in Jacksonville, Florida. They introduced the Whopper in 1957, and it became their signature item. Strategy was flame. Broiled taste versus McDonald's fried taste. It was the beginning of the burger wars. Two companies battling for burger supremacy. The Cold War, but with more mayonnaise. In the 1990s, fast food chains started a price war. McDonald's introduced the dollar menu. Burger King responded with their own deals, joined in. Suddenly, you could get a hamburger for a single